Hi, happy Friday. I hope that you're all doing well, as always. Welcome to our really restorative yoga practice tonight. You will see I have some candles on. I have my really cozy cardigan on. I plan on keeping on the whole class. Socks, really comfy clothes. I've got my heating on. I'm staying warm, okay? And I would really suggest that you do the same. I've got a bolster here, but if you could grab maybe like a couple of bed pillows, if you have them, or like really chunky cushions that feel like they're going to raise you a little bit off of the ground. No stress if you don't have them to hand, but grab something soft. And we'll start lying on our side. And in today's class, I really don't think that we'll really do a lot. We might just hang out a little bit. Let your bottom arm reach, doesn't matter what side you start on. Head can be supported, maybe even bring your head onto your hand if that feels more comfortable. Or if you have a block handy, you might be able to bring your block underneath your head. Rib cage lies onto the bolster and you can sort of support your head with your hand, or whatever feels good. And then your bottom knee tucks up, and then let your top leg go long so it's like nice and heavy. And then your top hand, right, so whichever side you're lying on, the hand on the top will come onto your rib cage. And I want you to just spend some time here breathing into the side of the body. And so you'll start to feel this rib kind of corset that we have, one side of the ribs starting to lift and lower on the inhale and exhale. And you might notice that it takes a little bit of time for you to give this top leg permission to actually drop down to the earth. We kind of might want it to be like really active and push away from us, and sometimes I do ask you to do that, but I want this to be like super, super heavy and kind of this big permission to just really soften. And that's what the class is called, a little softness. And that's exactly how we're going to approach our practice tonight, is with this sensation of, this exploration of what it feels like to really soften and let go. And we're coming to the end of our third week together of this first, cycle or transition into 2022. We're just starting to sort of warm up and get ready for the rest of the year, aren't we? It's like an emergence of what could be. Once you start to feel everything slightly soften around the belly center and maybe even the legs, you might want to reach this top arm alongside your ear. Hopefully you can still hear me. And if that top arm maybe reaches, you might catch it with the bottom hand and just gently pull. Again, there's this sort of feeling of softening, so it doesn't need to be super active. And then I invite you to maybe rock and roll a little bit forward and back. And that bottom leg, sorry, I'm really conscious of you like muffling myself, but that bottom leg might just stop you from, rolling too far forward or back. And there's this feeling of, rinsing the bottom rib cage, or giving it like a little bit of a massage. One more. Either way, just allow yourself to expand through the top side waist, and then there's this gentle sort of contraction and lifting of the bottom waist. And then you can find yourself back into that little midpoint. Just gently prop yourself up. Again, you can be on your forearm or even head resting on your hand. And then this top leg just tucks in. Hover away from your bottom knee. And then just start to draw a few circles with the top leg. You might get some little pops and clicks, and it's just like a little articulation of that hip joint. So we let that leg be really heavy, and we're not doing anything too active, but we're just kind of getting some nice movement and lubrication into the hip joint. And then just start to go the other way. So nice big circles in the opposite direction, like you're trying to draw an oval or a circle shape with your knee. Moving through external, internal, and neutral with the hip. Okay. Bring that knee back down. Come onto your hands and knees underneath your hips. Just give me a little cat and cow with your hands maybe on your pillows still. Inhale, bring your chest forward through your arms. And then exhale, round and scoop. You might get this feeling of like tucking your tailbone under, and then as you send your bum back, you might rock a few times forward and back over the bolster. And we will make our way over onto the other side. So I just want you to get that, again, softening feeling. I'm going to just flip myself around so that I don't have my butt to you the whole time. So you'll be lying on the other side with the bolster underneath your rib cage. Again, you can let that arm go long, or you can prop your head up and just be aware that one side might feel slightly different to the other. And we've opened up that side of the waist. So now we're doing the other side. So you might just need to take a little bit of time to, again, let that top leg soften, supported by the ground underneath you. And then bring your hand onto your rib cage and then just start to breathe into it. And we do find it really difficult to soften our bellies. I think also if you've grown up as a millennial, or a little bit older even, we've kind of grown up with this belief that we have to have a specific body shape, or like we have to pull our bellies in. It seems to be a thing that we've all grown up believing is accepted, and it really is accepted somehow. And yet we don't really think about what that does to the functionality of our bodies. And I really do try now to think of my body as like this really amazing functioning machine that is capable of so much if I treat it with respect. I feel it well, and I move it well, but I also rest it well. And, rest doesn't have to be what we're doing right now and lying on the floor. It can actually just be giving yourself a few moments of freedom from that extreme contraction state that we can get into. And that can be around the eye sockets. So there's this kind of softening of the eyes. My yoga teacher talked about that the other day, where, sometimes when we're out in nature, we get this real soft panoramic view of the world because our eyes can soften to the wider scope of things. And when we're kind of looking at screens, or got this more tunnel vision, adrenaline running through us, we don't really see the bigger picture, physically and metaphorically. So the same happens with the physical self. Just let your top arm maybe reach overhead, maybe grab it with your bottom wrist, and just gently let the weight of your top arm maybe just create a bit more stretch to the side of the waist. Yeah, we do that with physical muscles in our body. So you might notice sometimes that you're drawing your belly in, or you're clenching your butt cheeks, which I do a lot as well. And a good time to check if you're doing that is when you are kind of around and like walking around or doing something quite mundane like washing the dishes. You can maybe check in with yourself and notice if you're clenching on, or your pelvic floor, jaw, even your feet. Like, are you kind of tensing your feet even now? And just start to bring yourself up gently. You can even just bring your head on top of your hand, and then this top knee tucks in. Hover knee away from the ground, and then just start to draw circles. And I don't think you'll have heard it, but my hip popped. It always happens. You might just start to notice the change perhaps in your physiological being. So this sort of reaction of what the body's doing and why we're doing it, and how that might be affecting your central nervous system, your mood. And just circle the other way. And perhaps you've had a really tough day. Maybe there's been lots going on and it's taken a lot for you to actually get on the mat. And just be really proud of yourself for even just gentle movements of the body. Start to bring yourself back upright. I'm going to get you to do your cat and cow again. So bolster can be underneath your hands. Couple of rounds of cat and cow, belly drops down and then round through the spine. We will come to sit back in a wide child's pose, so knees out wide, toes together. Feel free to cushion underneath your knees if they're quite sensitive, and then bring your pillows in a long way, lengthways, so that if you've got a couple of pillows that if you were to lie over it, your head would still be supported. But we're also going to bring the block onto the bolster. So have a block or a book handy, or even another cushion that's a little bit higher. And then hands just go either side of the bolster to begin with, and then just start to cat and cow the spine. So the tailbone tilts back, chin is welcome to go forward. There's this drop of the belly, it might even hit the bolster or the pillows. And then round and scoop through your spine as if you're trying to press the ground away, and let your upper back puff up to the ceiling. 2 more like that. So inhale, pull everything forward. And then exhale, round. 1 more time, inhale. Exhale, round it in. Come back to a place that is in between those two, so a more neutral ground. Left hand stays where it is. Right hand will come to the back of the skull, and then we'll open our right elbow up to the ceiling and lean yourself back. So your weight might shift more towards this left hip and left foot. Right elbow now comes towards the block, and just round it in. The elbow might touch the bolster or the block. And then bring it back in, inhale. Lean back, let your hips sway over to the left, and then round it in. And we'll continue this feeling of opening and closing in this thoracic twist. But then this time I want you to thread the needle. So we're going to bring our right arm underneath our left. Bring your right shoulder, right ear onto the block and the bolster. Okay, so your right arm is reaching. It'll be hovering off the floor. I've gone the other way, but you're going to reach this top hand and interlace the hands together. So like you're pushing your knuckles away from each other, your hands will interlace. And then that just might give you a little bit more oomph. And there is a bit of active movement through the arms. You're kind of actively pushing the knuckles away. They might land on the ground depending on the height of your cushioning. And then let your right rib cage sort of start to pop over towards your right inner thigh. And the head is resting really nice and gently onto your block. And there should be this gentle pulling action all the way from the bottom of the ear down the side of the neck and into the upper shoulder, even into your rhomboid. So the space in between your spine and your scapula, so the shoulder blade. And allow the breath to get really big into the back of the ribs. 1 more nice deep breath here. Full exhalation. Right, bring your left hand down to the earth. Unravel yourself from your twist. You might reach your right arm back up. Deep inhale. And then bring your right hand down. Cat and cow spine. So draw chest and belly forward. And then round and scoop through the spine. One more inhale. And exhale. Come back to your neutral positioning. Left hand to the back of the skull, and then just start to do your little twist. So we're leaning back. It's almost like you're trying to just, I don't know, lean your chest to the ceiling, like this. I don't know, you're shining your face to the sun. And then left elbow comes towards your bolster or your block. I kind of lost my words there. Inhale. I'm getting too relaxed. All started to feel like mush in my brain there. Round it in. Okay, on this last one, we'll open up, really lean back. You might release your left arm to the ceiling. And then thread the needle. So left arm comes on top of the bolster. Left ear drops down onto your block. And then this top hand can come onto your knuckles. And then just push the hands away. So if your hands aren't on the ground, just let them hover. My arms are really long. I think I've mentioned this like a million times. I've got really long arms. What a flex, eh? But just let them hover if they need to. Your bottom arm should be nicely supported with the bolster underneath you. And then let's see if we can just gently tuck the chin slightly more so that the back of the neck gets long and there's more of this stretch from the inside of it's almost like your shoulder blades sliding away from you, and then you're stretching all of the muscles that sit in between and underneath the shoulder blade and the spinal column. Okay, and to the back of the neck and the traps as well. And just like maybe shimmy your jaw around a little bit if you notice that getting a bit tense. Give me one more inhale. Full exhalation. Unravel, right hand returns to the floor. Just bring your left arm back up, might open up again. And then both hands to the floor. Let's come back onto our tabletop, so knees underneath you. I'm going to ask you to bring your bolster out away from you and come into a Z stance. Okay, so your left shin will be forward, your right heel tucked in. It's like you've made a Z shape with your legs. Simple as that. Have your block handy if you might need it, but we're going to side bend over each leg. So fingertips can go out nice and wide, and then top arm can just reach and fingertips to the back of the mat. You might not have as much range as you go over your back hip. And then left fingertips come to the floor and then just side bend towards the top of the mat. And we'll just keep moving like this. Feel free to kind of sweep the arm forward and make this really nice and generous, but we'll just continue to get this feeling of sort of allowing our belly space to soften. Let's see if we can have that gorgeous, soft Buddha belly. And let the skin fold over the top of your trackies or your yoga pants. Just let this side waist get this really big stretch and pull. I'm such a big fan of a side bend because whenever I open up my ribs, it just feels so delicious. Start to bring yourself back up to the center. Very much like our little thoracic twists. Left hand will reach behind you, and then bring your right hand to the back of the skull. And then like you're about to, thoracic twist again, right elbow is going to pull towards your left knee. So you're folding over, and you might just get this really generous pull all the way along the back of your right ribs, even into your right QL. And then I want you to get this feeling of scooping your tailbone underneath you, and you can lean back more, and it's like you're trying to push your pubic bone to the ceiling, almost like you want to lift your hips up, but we're not going to lift the hips up. And then just a couple more nice deep breaths here, rounding your spine in. And we'll transition this into half hero. So hands can come behind your back, and then step your left foot in, and the top of the right foot and the right shin come to the floor. And you can just lean back into your hands, and then again get that feeling of scooping your tailbone underneath you, like a real posterior tilt. If you watch my pelvis video, you'll know what I mean, but it's like you have to kind of squeeze your bum and pull your pubic bone towards your chin, and then chin draws in towards your collarbones. And this will feel like a really nice big stretch through your quad. Be really mindful if you have knee issues. You might want to come into, so everyone just stay where you are, but if you do have knee issues, you might want to come into a lizard, so your right knee can come onto a block or a pillow. Lean your hips forward, and you might be able to grab your back foot, maybe even grab onto like a scarf or like a housecoat band or something, and just stretch the front of your quad that way. But if you are staying with me, then we're in half hero. And you're very welcome if you've got the range to, and you can keep that nice tuck. You can come all the way down onto your elbows or lie yourself all the way down if you feel comfortable doing so. We'll just hang out here for a bit. If you would like a little bit more kind of manipulation of this quad and the skin around the knee and the hips, you can lift your hips a couple of inches off the ground and then just wiggle your hips side to side a wee bit. Like you're salsa dancing, you'll have to push more into your hands. That might just feel a bit funky, so you don't have to do it, or it might feel nice. It's like we're kind of manipulating the tissues around the pelvis and the quad. Okay, set your bum back down. If you've come all the way down, come up. Slowly unwind this leg and maybe just give it a little, kick around. You can circle it a few times, and then we'll just do the other side. So this time it's right shin forward, left heel tucked in. And we'll bring our left forearm or left hand to the front of the mat, and then reach your fingertips alongside your ear, and then hand plants left arm alongside ear. And just start to move through these two little motions. You might round it forward or lean it back. Feel free to come onto your forearms if you've got the range in your side waist. I am very aware that some of you might not have the range, and just go to the point that feels appropriate for you. You might bring your forearm onto your bolsters and bring the bolster towards the back of the mat. One more each side. Really just let yourself breathe really big into the side of the ribs. And then we'll come all the way back in to center. Right foot this time will plant, knee out in front of you, and then it'll be the top of the left foot and the knee tuck in. So your knees are in line with your hips. Okay, so they're not splaying out to the side. We want to try and keep them drawn in. And then there's this tucking and sort of like, I always say this, like Freddie Mercury tuck, like a thrust of your pubic bone forward. And don't worry about your shoulders shrugging up to your ears, but you have to be semi-active through your hands to let yourself lean back. And you can always bend your elbows and come down onto your forearms if you're happy to do so. But otherwise, just stay upright and kind of play about with how this feels. If you're in your lizard, then you know where you're going. And as much as this kind of feels like maybe like yin a little bit, I don't know, I haven't done yin in a long time, but there's this kind of slow and steady pace where we're holding things a little bit longer. If you want to pick up your hips and maybe salsa dance them, feel free to do that. And I'm not the biggest fan of holding postures for a long time, and that's why I always kind of give suggestions of moving around when you're in things, because I don't think that the body is designed to be still. Even like in sleep, we're not still. Don't think we're supposed to be in a real still state or in one posture. That's why I don't believe in perfect posture either. I think the more that we're in one thing for extreme amounts of time, that's when problems can occur. Okay, you can bring our pelvis back down. Just rock yourself over and then just gently let that left leg straighten and bend a little bit. And for a change, we're actually going to do a seated fold. So grab your bolster or your pillows and prop them up, even with your block out in front of you, and then let your legs go wide. And there is a little bit of active pull back of the toes towards you, just so that we're not really flopping into the joints. I'm not a big fan of that. But I will say, feel free to let your spine round. Okay, so it's not one of these like super Ashtanga inspired like forward fold where you're trying to like lean yourself over your hips and keep everything active. I want you to allow your spine to round and just start to walk your hands forward to the point where it feels comfy. But just get this gentle pull of the legs so that we're not overstretching the hamstring and the groin. There's almost like this feeling of, you can just fold over, but there's this feeling of like an elastic band that you don't want to overstretch. And that's how I feel about like all of the muscles and the ligaments around the groin in particular and the back of the hamstrings, is that we don't want them to be these like overly stretched and kind of floppy area. We want stability as well as openness, but we want this really like ability to go between the two. And actually sometimes when you bring a little bit of tension into some muscles, specifically like the hamstrings and the glutes or the hip joint, you know, when there is a bit of stability and warmth there, our central nervous system is like, okay, well, we're working this area, so I'm going to give you some more space. And funnily, that is kind of how it works. Whereas if you find that you go into like a stretch really quickly without, you know, giving your body any kind of warning, that sometimes when injuries happen, because we don't have you know, we don't have the prior warning. It's like our internal alarm system goes off. And it's like, why are we here? Like, what are we doing? I'm gonna send you a signal. And that's all that pain and, you know, tension really is. It's like a warning signal from your body to be like, not sure why we're here or what we're doing. So how cool is that? Yeah, it's amazing. Bodies are pretty cool. I could talk about them all day. Okay, take another couple of nice deep breaths in your forward fold wherever you are. You don't have to be all the way over, head down, but feel free to have your head supported, maybe even with your hands, so that you can allow there to be space and softness into the upper traps and the back of the neck. I sometimes like to bring my hands onto like my forehead or the sides of my skull, back of my skull, and just give them like a little massage. You can kind of rub them a little bit. I am a chronic like eyebrow furrower, so my eyebrows shoot up towards my hairline like crazy. And now I have all these beautiful expression lines, which I'm really much enjoying. But they just make me who I am, don't they? It's pretty cool. We are what we do repeatedly. Okay. Allow yourself to just gently come out of the fold. And it might not feel like we've done a whole lot, but hopefully the body is starting to feel like it's ready for some rest. So before you move, let your feet relax. Maybe wiggle them a couple of times and give them permission as you bring your legs in. I'm going to finish in this supported fish. I think we did this before. So prop your pillows up so that they're on top of your block. Now you can do this however you're set up. It can be like a rolled up towel and then like a couple of blocks on bolsters on top, or pillows on top. Whatever you've got, use, okay? You don't have to have fancy yoga props. But what I want is for you to lie with your lower back at the base, and then your whole body will be supported by a bolster underneath that is on a slant, okay? Even just the smallest little slant, but your head is supported. I'm going to take my bobble out so that nice and comfy. Head is supported, bum is on the earth, and then feet are planted underneath your knees. And then you can have your arms out nice and wide. Feel free to turn the lights down at this point, and so that you're in this position to just maybe fall asleep. I encourage it. And then whatever you want to do with the legs, if it feels comfortable, I'm going to try not knock over my candles. Maybe let your legs go long, or personal favorite of mine is to bring the knees out, and that might just start to feel really generous because you've already been in your forward fold for a while, and we really got into the quads and the inner thighs. Close down your eyes and allow, again, the back of the neck to get some length into it. So there's this double chin feeling, pulling your chin towards your throat, but not like trying to ram the back of your neck into the floor. There's this beautiful balance of effort and ease and awareness, but also a sense of just being here and giving yourself full permission to rest. And maybe this is the only time in your week that you have really consciously allowed your body and your bones to soften into the earth. And it's not about calming the mind. It may feel a little calmer, but we use our bodies to perhaps manifest something emotionally and physically. And the end result of your physical practice might not always be what you think it's going to be. And I actually said this on Instagram stories. A lot of the time, yoga teachers, fitness instructors have this belief that you have to leave your shit outside, leave it off the mat. I've heard that so many times. Don't bring the external to the class. So it happens a lot in studios. And I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying that sometimes the shit happens on the mat and you kind of can't escape it. And being in your body and present in your yoga practice, unfortunately or fortunately, often means that emotions come up. Shit happens. Feelings happen. And I think that is the whole point. We're not trying to escape them. We're allowing ourselves to feel them. And this is what I said. It's feel your fucking feelings. So sorry if no one likes swearing. I do a lot of it. But just let yourself feel it. Whatever's come up. And I'm going to leave you here. I'm going to leave you here to stay for as long as you need to, knowing that you can end your practice however you want to, whenever you want to. And that's the beauty of practicing at home as well, is that you can stay in a posture, you can do more, you can do less, you can turn me off, you can shout at me, you can do whatever you want to do. I wish you all a gorgeous weekend if you're doing this on Friday, or just have a beautiful day whenever or wherever you are. I cannot thank you all enough for joining me and for giving yourself this space to practice without judgment and with no attachment to the result. Thank you.